Okay, I'd like to call the meeting, the committee of the whole meeting for August 26th to order. It is 5:30 PM. Deputy Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Orth,
Here.
Trustee Whitaker,
Here.
Trustee Fowler,
Here.
Trustee Gallen,
Here.
Trustee Yetis,
Here.
Trustee Elfman,
Here.
President Mendrick.
Here. As always, we start out our meetings with the opportunity for public comment. If anyone has anything they would like to discuss with us, please come to the podium and state your name and your address for us, please.
You were staring at me the whole time. If anybody wants to speak, Don Graff, Lower East Side. I've talked to a lot of people recently. They're psyched, they're happy, they're thrilled about Sunset Foods. I went throughout the whole neighborhood, spoke to my friends. Both of them thought it was a great idea. So we're really... What? I'm reclaiming my time. But congratulations to the zoning committee on that and to Steve. I mean, this is really fast-tracked in my opinion. Same thing with the restaurant down with Stone, yeah. Also, I went to the Hap Road Committee for the first meeting they had, and I was thrilled again. It's a good diversion, or not diversion, it's a good committee. I really want to give cheers to our board president for making the selections, and for Patrick for that first meeting, putting things together and letting him get off to sea from there. It's going to be a terrific committee. Things are going really well with everything here. Stop it. I have nothing to gripe about. You're killing me here. I might have to make something up, or what I was thinking, maybe if there's people here anytime that are afraid to speak but want to gripe about something, I will bloviate on your behalf. Just let me know. I'm on all the socials, Facebook, Instagram. I just lost my account to ALL dial-up, but maybe I can rant for you. Finally, the Centennial at the last meeting was brought up, showing about bringing in the schools, music, DJs, stuff like that. For many years, I was on the Village Follies. I don't know if you're familiar with them. It's a group that does all their performances in Winnetka, but there's a lot of them that came from Northfield. You got Patty, Bill, Charlie Seymour. You've got Joan McGrath, which used to be the Lotto lady. Her deceased husband, Jeff McGrath, who was the ABC program director for a while. Steve Sanders lived here for a long time. And Jennifer Adams is still doing it. What they did and what we did a lot was spoofs of different communities. We did future news, which meant what we do is we would say what's going to happen 20 years in the future to Glencoe, to Northfield, to Winnetka. And every single time we were wrong, but every single time it was kind of funny. We have one right now that's still on Facebook, not on Facebook, but on YouTube, where we predicted in 1995 that the field at New Trier would become Soldier Field for the Chicago Bears. We would rename them the Northfield Bears. We'd also take Kraft, cut that property down completely, and make it the second regional airport. The third thing we were going to do was Sunset Ridge. We were going to take that apart and make it the first Illinois land-based casino project. Now, none of that came true, but we had one more punchline that we used for many years in our little Follies Future News thing. We'd say, we did all these things. We brought in all this money to Northfield, all these new projects, but we still didn't widen Willow Road. Oh boy, tough crowd. Again, if anybody needs me for anything, I'll be in this chair. Take it, thank you.
Thanks, Don. Anyone else want to comment now, or if you're here for one of the other items on the Committee of the Whole agenda, you can wait and we'll ask for input there as well. So if nothing else, we'll move on to the approval of the July 15th minutes. Do I have a motion and a second?
So moved. Second.
I would like to make a couple corrections to those minutes, if that's possible.
Okay, let's hear it.
There's a couple sections there. I talked to Patrick today, and I talked to Holly, where it mentions, it says trustee instead of the actual trustee's name. In keeping with trying to have open government, transparency, and accountability, I think those couple changes need to be made to where it talks about the actual trustee that made the comment or actual discussion and brought about the discussion. So there's a couple in there. I talked to Patrick about it, I talked to Holly about it. So I'd like to have those corrected.
Well, as a general rule, we have made the minutes be fairly, what I would call just a general understanding of what happened at the meetings, Charlie, and not he said, she said throughout the minutes. So I know we corrected one thing where there was a vote one time that you were very concerned that your name was listed. I don't know what your issues are with the other ones, but I'm not sure we want to go back to saying trustee Fowler said this, trustee Elfman said that. We had moved away from that because we have video evidence of the meetings and also audio evidence of the meetings. So if someone needs to go back and check what was said by anyone, we have an opportunity to do that. So if you would like to point out the two instances that are of concern to yours, we can discuss it in general, but I don't want to just.
Under the paragraph discussion concerning extending the grocery sales tax, it says one trustee commented, I think it was trustee Matthew Galen that said that, and then I commented that another trustee remarked that any revenue help the village and surrounding communities were most likely to going to extend the grocery tax. So those are the only two things. It should say trustee Galen, and then the other part should say trustee Orth, just so that people know what is. A lot of people do not go back and listen to the audio or watch the video or anything, so those are the only two things. Other than that, the minutes state every name in every position on everything. And when there's an area where we go back and forth, it just says the trustees commented. I'm not looking to have the back and forth on Todd said this, Tom said this, Charlie said that. It's just those two items in that paragraph. That's it.
Can I make a comment? I think that it's all or none. It's not specific to a specific discussion. I think that we do have what we didn't have in the past, and that was the ability to videotape and audio tape our meetings, which people can bring up. I think that the minutes form a pretty good in-depth outline of what was discussed at the previous meetings, and if there's something in there that somebody wants to find that's specific to their interest, they can do so. But I think when you start putting, if you're gonna do two things, you need to do all of it with every trustee and every conversation they have. And I don't think that's fair of a burden to put on our staff to expect them to go through, listen, and make sure that every trustee who made a comment is listed next to what they said. So I think that the way it is now, with what we have in the technology, I think it's fine the way it is.
With all due respect, it's just these two pieces of information in the paragraph. If you look at the minutes, every other name and every other situation is completely listed. So to put that trustee Galen commented and that trustee Orth remarked, I don't think it's a big deal. It's not that difficult to change. We change a lot of other things. I don't think it's a big deal. If you look at the rest of the minutes, every name that's associated where it needs to be has been associated with that.
I guess I'm not prepared. I wish that we had known about this in advance of tonight so that I could have more thoroughly reviewed the questions that you had. Trustee Gallon, I know that you're being implied in this. Do you have a strong opinion on this particular issue or where you were perhaps misrepresented in the minutes at all, or?
No.
Okay. Mr. Jones, welcome to the table.
Happy to be here.
Any thoughts on this particular matter? I'm happy to move this to the next meeting if we need to review it more thoroughly, but any thoughts?
Sure, a couple options. You can certainly continue it to the next meeting if the board's not ready to vote. Alternately, if the board feels that these amendments are non-objectionable, I could entertain a friendly amendment if the maker of the motion doesn't have an issue with it, or the second, whoever seconded the motion as well. So those are kind of the two paths we have here.
So just, sorry, just for clarity, Trustee Orth, you're recommending on page 4 of the committee of the whole packet, of those minutes, paragraph 3 under the grocery sales tax, is your motion saying that you motion to approve the minutes with the correction that in paragraph 3, Trustee Gallen commented, and then near the last sentence, Trustee Orth remarked? Is that your motion?
Exactly.
And is that the understood motion from the seconder who was Trustee Fowler? You have a motion, a second on the table.
Okay. So we'll ask are we all clear on what we're voting on? Just want to make sure.
I've got it pulled
Okay.
up, so I have a good idea what's there.
Okay, all right. Deputy Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Orth?
Yes.
Trustee Whitaker? Trustee Fowler?
Yes.
Trustee Gallen? Yes. Trustee Yedis?
Yes.
Trustee Elfman?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, now moving on to item number 4, discussion concerning a resident request for assistance with the Middle Fork Bridge. I know some of you are in the audience are here to share your thoughts on that with us, but I'd like Village Manager Brennan to kick off the conversation for us.
Thank you. And normally I don't read much from minutes, but excuse me if I'm going back down, because this is actually a fairly complex issue. So the Middle Fork Bridge is a privately owned bridge within a privately owned lane in the village. It is something that is, I think, unique in the village in that it spans, it is the Middle Fork of the North Branch of the Chicago River. And as I look at the maps in the village, it's the only span that's over a waterway of the United States, and that's a technical term that the U.S. government uses for it, that isn't owned by an entity like a village, state of Illinois, or another large body. So it's raised some concerns recently that the homeowners who are responsible for this bridge had an analysis done of the structure. And while none of the reports I've read say that it's required by IDOT, I haven't confirmed that that's an IDOT requirement, but regardless, the homeowners have been having this report done every couple of years, provide the village with a copy. The most recent analysis came back from the engineering firm detecting a high degree of corrosion in some of the existing beams that had not been part of the recent work done 10 years ago, roughly. Those beams are the primary load-carrying beams across that bridge, and because of their condition, it called into question the load-carrying capacity of the bridge. The homeowners got this information, contacted the village, provided us with a copy of the report, and have done work trying to get an engineering firm to help them with that process. And from the village perspective, it raised my hackles a little bit of, we've got concerns about the weight carrying capacity, and we have fire trucks that need to get in to serve these approximately 20 homes, that the only point of access is across this bridge. So while I was working with council to figure out what we should be doing, the homeowners reached out, or a representative of the homeowners, and said, hey, we've tried to work on this, we're having some difficulty, and we would like the village board to consider giving us assistance technically in working through this. There's no question raised about ownership and financial responsibilities. It's purely a situation of they're having difficulty getting someone to help them with this project. The main reason being is that many of the professional engineering firms that do complex projects like this are used to working for a local government body, not a group of homeowners. And in this situation, the group of homeowners, to the best of my knowledge, does not have a formal homeowners association. And there's no legal entity technically owning this bridge that we're aware of at this point. Is it part of an access easement agreement that gives certain ownership rights? Is it actually owned by the people whose property lines cross the bridge? I don't have those answers. But all those things add complexities to the situation. And I was wanting to find out the village's comfort level in both the response to the resident request and then where you'd like us involved in this. Because as you know, it's an interesting situation that it's really not the village politic, the body's responsibility, but yet we have a strong public safety interest and we have a group of residents that are asking for our assistance. And that's part of why we're here. So high-level overview of the situation. And I
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll weigh in real quickly, just so everybody's aware. I live about a block from that bridge. Have been, actually, Trustee Orth and I talked about it at one point as the only access point to 20 homes back there. And what's been interesting is the level of deterioration that's happened over the past few years. So for us, it's really become beyond our scope of abilities as residents back in the area. So that's where I think this discussion is valid, and maybe it opens up some doors of other discussions across the village on other private lanes that might have similar issues. I don't know if anybody else has a bridge, but similar issues they might have to deal with at some point that's beyond the scope of the residents who live there. So with that, I just wanted full disclosure that I do live back there and have to cross that bridge multiple times a day. So.
Okay. Anyone from the public that would like to add on to this conversation? Just approach the microphone.
Good evening. My name is Brian Neville. I'm a resident, 2108 Middle Fork. I'm Mr. Elfman's neighbor. Basically, the de facto homeowners association, I would say, between Ed and I. We've been dealing with trying to keep the Band-Aid on the existing bridge. As Mr. Brennan has explained, that there is a lot of structural corrosion as far as the original steel beams are concerned. Not to mention that it's also, on top of those steel beams, it's also wood that's deteriorating. There is a hole, I would say probably at this point 20 inches in diameter, give or take, that's got a piece of plywood over it.
I was going to ask you, is that, I drove by there, is that the plywood that's just laying on top of the bridge?
Right, and I don't know if the steel plate that I bought in May is still there. It's probably gone through and in the river. So that's where we are. We're literally trying to put a Band-Aid over a hole in the bridge. And also, as Mr. Brennan alluded, the issue is not only fire trucks and other, safety equipment, but also garbage trucks. Those weigh more than a literal ton. There are delivery trucks, Amazon, UPS, tons of kids. The wooden beams are literally held in by gravity at this point. So there is to use legal parlance, a clear and present danger here to public safety. We've reached out to a number of engineering companies, construction companies. They either don't want to, like Mr. Brennan said, they don't really want to deal with us because we're 20 individual homeowners. There's no homeowners association. It's really not even clear who. I mean, we would have to do like a survey, but to who really owns the property. And then it's over a navigable waterway adds another layer of fun to this, because then I don't know if the Army Corps of Engineers has to get involved, and perhaps the village attorney would care to weigh in on that, because I'm struggling to remember maritime law from law school. I didn't think it would. I didn't think it would come up. It wasn't even on the bar. So, so we've got a lot of problems here, and I know that there's a lot of people, especially my neighbors, who are also concerned. Literally riding a bike will make these wooden beams jump. I tried to source them. I don't know where to find them, and basically anything else beyond what homeowners can do with basic tools is kind of sort of beyond our capabilities, and nobody really wants to take the responsibility or liability individually for doing something with this bridge, because like I said, 20 individual homes, no HOA, no one wants to take personal liability for that. So any assistance that the village could offer, I don't know what the options are, but we'd certainly be willing to take a look at it.
We want to give the bridge to the village. Brian, go ahead and say it. It's a gift.
Yes, would you like a Trojan horse? I'm sure it's what you've always wanted. It's available, just saying.
Yes, Tom, trustee Whitaker.
I think you guys have a problem that a lot of the private streets have, and that's no HOA. The street I live on doesn't have an HOA, so who's going to pay for anything? You know, I think that Rolling Ridge had that same issue, and they created a special service area that the village made all the improvements on the street, made the improvements to stormwater and drainage like that, but they worked out an agreement with the village. The home HOA that they formed paid back the village. I'm not going there yet, though. I think that my thought is, and I discussed this earlier today with the village president, is we need to be good neighbors. And I think that there is an issue definitely there with everything that you said. I think that we need to do a little homework and go back and see if we can find out when that bridge was replaced, 25 years ago, 30 years ago?
No, it was replaced,
80?
no. Maybe 10 years ago?
Okay.
No, the wood decking.
It was
Wood decking
repaired.
was-
Just the wood
Okay,
decking.
but that bridge was,
That was my-
If I recollect correctly, the original steel beams from 1981 are still in place, which are the ones that are seriously corroding. Why they left them in when they repaired the bridge 10 years ago, I couldn't answer that.
so and the reason I bring this up is it was either 91 or 92.
Yeah,
That bridge was gone. And there's a house off of Briar, at the time was the Simonton's house, which is the Huber's house, we parked a
Ex-Huber's
fire
house.
truck in their driveway.
Right.
On the other side of the pass-through, and when there was an emergency, we'd drive down Briar, jump on the fire truck, and go in there.
right.
So,
There's precedent, you're saying.
yes. So, but I don't know who paid for, or who assisted with the bridge project. So I think it would behoove us to find out who did the bridge. If it was in fact in the 90s, I think Public Works has got to have some sort of record on that. But,
Pull permits, certainly.
right, but my thing is you brought up a key point. You're residents. You don't have the knowledge or ability to say, who do we go to? Like, and that's what I said, like,
Yeah.
I'm not saying the village is gonna assume the cost on anything, but at least the village should be able to help provide some significant direction to see who they used or who you could use. And if there's support from the village, it may make some of these people that you reached out to who don't wanna have anything to do with it, say, you know, we'll work with you through the village. But, you know, I think that knowing costs and everything else that are associated with it, it's hard to have a really good discussion or a commitment because we don't know all the facts. And I think that if it were me, my recommendation would be is let's help these people out as much as we can and get some answers and some direction.
We'd appreciate that.
Yep.
Patrick, I feel like you didn't put this on the agenda without some idea of how we might perhaps help these community members. So what would be some ideas that you might have aside from the things that Tom already mentioned, which I feel like are probably in your plan too, so.
Absolutely. Steve and I have done some good research through the files on what exists from when the original bridge, or not original, but the last time the bridge was replaced in full in its current condition. And it was upgraded or rehabbed by the residents a number of years ago. That may be the time you recall when the road was closed. But the decision was made by the residents at that time to not do a full replacement, to do an interim improvement and place some additional beams in. I think the best approach, in my opinion, if the village board has comfort with it, is for me to get a meeting with the homeowners in that area and go out there at the bridge in the neighborhood or in the center of the circle and start talking about what their goals are, what they're trying to achieve, make sure everybody understands kind of the situation, and then help guide them on potential people they could contact to get the work done, just from my project experience. There's an engineering firm that I've worked with in the past that's done some bridge work. They went out there pro bono and took a look, and even they expressed they would prefer not to work for a residential group that isn't a full body where they can report just to one person. So I talked through those issues, not be spending taxpayer dollars on that effort. It would be essentially my time that you're paid for, whether it's 2 hours a week or 200, and come back with a plan on how we move forward and really nailing it down as far as responsibilities. So everybody understands what their roles are. Much like you said, provide assistance, but not fund the engineering work type of effort, if that's something the group's comfortable with.
I'm happy to jump in here. You know, this is an act of good faith and working with our neighbors to help support something that could be, you know, a safety issue down the road. I was talking with Patrick today, and there's an incredible percentage of our roads here in Northfield are private. You know, we don't have an exact number, but I think there's more private than there are public roads in this area. So I think there's going to be other issues that come up in ways that we as a board can help support. And this isn't a financial cost, but kind of a,
Administrative?
you know,
Advisory capacity.
but we can use his expertise and he can help navigate this. So, you know, I think it's a great idea.
Well, from a safety standpoint, I think it's paramount that we as a village board and as a village, again, help each other out. And like you said, there's a lot more private roads than there are regular roads. And there are other areas where, I talked to Patrick about this today, there are bridges that cover other little areas as well. So whatever we can do to help out, I think it would be imperative. And even, I don't know if it's something that we could do down the line, but if it was to get it fixed and then they would put an assessment on the neighbors and then pay the village back. I know there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat here, but I think it's important that we get it fixed. So the whole time I've lived in this community and I plowed snow over there, I delivered groceries over there, it's had various stages of repairs through the years, and it's never been where they've done a complete rebuild, so to speak. It's always been, this is good enough, or we're going to replace the beams, or we're going to do different things. So I think, you know, it's important that we look at it and maybe get an engineering analysis that says, this is what we really need to do for a long-term fix, so that we're not putting a Band-Aid on this every few years.
One thing I'll say from a context standpoint too, I believe we've reached out to 9 firms and heard back from 1. So a lot of them are just absolutely unanswered, or we don't work with residents specifically. So that is part of the context too, of we just need heft behind who we're reaching out to as well.
I would encourage you to, as soon as possible, get WJE to take a look at the load capacity analysis they recommended. I have concerns about its carrying capacity for something like a loaded fire truck with water.
Right, and I believe
So-
if I'm remembering correctly, that the sign that they have up there, that's what, a 32 per axle I believe someone just bought that and put that there. So I don't even know if the sign that's there that
Yeah.
denotes the actual capacity is legit.
Yeah.
I don't know if they just made the number up or we're guessing. So, yeah, the fact that it's even held up as long as it has is a testament to something. I don't know what, but I digress.
Anybody who hasn't spoken from a trustee perspective that has an opinion, I feel like well, let me stop there. Matt, Todd, anything?
The only thing, I think this is all great, and I love that we're willing to step up. I do think that, you know, sort of the Rolling Ridge model works, but on top of that, for them to consider sort of an ongoing funding for repairs, et cetera, there's a useful life, and you can sort of look at that so that you guys don't run into a situation like this in the future, I think would make a lot of sense.
I support Patrick's plan. I'm just wondering, how quickly do you think you guys can put together that initial meeting?
You know, it depends. If you're willing to put a sign out near the bridge or near the circle that says, community meeting here, and give me a week's notice, and hopefully good weather, we'll meet outside and have a conversation with the group. And I would really like to make sure that the homeowners in the area are all kind of like-minded on this. And thinking, I don't know how many homeowners are here tonight from that area,
Quite a
but
few. I sent out an all-hands-on-deck email, so
Right.
we can do that again and facilitate you know, a meeting with everybody at the Circle, probably at Ed's house. That makes the most sense.
So. So I think that's a first start, hopefully within a couple of weeks. And while we're working on that, I can come up with a little bit of a bigger plan and outline some of the kind of to-dos that I think would be helpful. But again, I can't stress enough, getting that load capacity analysis from WJE, engaging them to start that now would be a really good idea.
For sure. Perfect. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else, sir?
Hi, my name's Richard Carger. I'm at 2094 Middle Fork Road. I've been there for 40 years, so I've seen none of this history. First of all, I mean, we're coming here hat in hand. I mean, you know, we've tried to do this ourselves. We can't get it done. And so we're very appreciative of the comments from the board about trying to help us, and we're not trying to not meet our responsibilities. We've put a lot of money into repaving the road and doing all kinds of stuff over the years. But I would say, and it's great to have a meeting, but I mean, to me, the meeting is everybody's going to say we want the bridge fixed. You know, it's a safety issue, it's a noise issue. When I came back from the winter, I was the one that called up Ed and said, you know, we got a big hole that's going to be forming in this bridge anytime. It's unbelievably unsafe. And then he and Brian, you know, took the lead and filled it in. That was in the beginning of May. So, you know, and in the meantime, they're trying to get somebody to fix it, but we've got a tremendous risk of a safety issue, as it's been pointed out. If, you know, God forbid there's a fire or something like that, or I don't even know, I guess an ambulance probably could get in there, but, you know, it's not a great option to have to worry about that. So all I'm saying is it's great if you want to have a meeting. I will tell you, I mean, everybody, I think I can speak for everybody of the 20 homeowners, we got to get the bridge fixed. I mean, that's, and if the village is willing to help us do it, because we've tried and can't seem to do it, we'd be, you know, very, very grateful for doing it. I know I've paid my taxes here for 40 years, but this is, you know, it's a private road, I get it, but we'd really appreciate, you know, anything that could be done, and as soon as possible. And if we can't get a lot of the homeowners there on somewhat a short notice, I mean, everybody wants it done, okay? And we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, I think we have a good first step here for Patrick to meet with you all and talk about some of the things that we might ask in the creation of a homeowners association or something like that, an entity, and then we can continue to do the work on our side to help you as quickly as we can. And I don't think Patrick will wait until that meeting to continue to think about this project and try to do what we can for this portion of our community. So thank you all for coming. Thank you for bringing it to our attention, and we will certainly do our best to help you as quickly as we can.
If I have just one more question with your permission.
Yep.
While the first goal would be to have an engineering firm, design engineering firm look at this and be engaged by the homeowners association, if we're unsuccessful in finding a firm that's doing that, is there an openness to the village board of us taking the lead with that project, but being reimbursed by the homeowners for any expenses related to the engineering services? Again, first approach is try to get them to work with the homeowners, but if not, are you comfortable with me overseeing something like that? Because if there is a comfort, I can hopefully be ready by the September meeting if we can't get something done by bringing something forward to you with better information.
Everybody in agreement on that?
I think we should be involved.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that at this point, I think it's important, it alleviates them from the risk, but we've got risk as well because of the life safety.
Yeah.
So I would hate for us not to be integral in whatever's going on
Right.
there.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's important that we stay very involved in it from a public safety perspective, so. Okay, great.
Thank you.
We will now move on to item number 5 on the agenda, which is discussion concerning a recommendation to pass through credit card processing fees. Patrick, to you again.
Absolutely, thank you. And I see Melissa's hard at work in the background of my PowerPoint that I didn't use at all for the first item. Please bring that back up. I've got 3 different items all in that one PowerPoint. I apologize. It's okay. So this is an item that came to our attention, or my attention recently, as we were putting in our new computer system. And as part of that process, we were changing payment processors. And that's basically the company that takes the data when we scan a credit card. That company processes the data and goes out to Visa or MasterCard and says, levy this charge. And in getting that set, we recognized that there was a pretty hefty credit card fee coming our way to the tune of about $60,000 a year. And our credit card processor was discussing with us the difference between utility credit card expenses and non-utility payment expenses. So this caught more of my attention, because this, in a nutshell, what we're doing is when somebody comes to pay for something by credit card, whether that be a water bill payment or a permit application or an escrow deposit, when they use the credit card, it's costing the village money that we're not recouping. And as I said, that's about $60,000 a year looking at last year's expense. Now, the chart you see before you has a different breakdown of the fees. So for example, water and sewer, the current village cost, because it's a utility, the credit card companies give us a discount of 1.75% and no per transaction fee. If the village were to say, hey, residents, there's a convenience fee, as you often hear it relayed in stores, or we call it a surcharge because we're passing that fee on, the utility discount would be gone, and it would be a 2.95% expense for the convenience of using a credit card, plus 50 cents per transaction. And you see the table there. I won't read the whole thing for you. Other is things like escrows and permit fees. Bringing this to you, for one, is I see a situation that's not ideal and not following what's often best practice in the municipal government industry to make sure this is the way you want it. My recommendation is we look at passing these charges forward to the residents who are using the card as a convenience. The option is to do that, to keep things as they are, or to continue to encourage residents to use things like debit card or an automatic debit from their checking account, which I haven't gotten full confirmation from the bank yet, which I believe we're not charged for. So if you sign up for online utility payment for your water bill and you link that to your checking account, there's no fee to the village for that withdrawal. If you come to the counter, there's a fee that's based on this table per transaction. If it's less than $1,000, the village pays $1.50 for an AC, what they consider an ACH, which is essentially a debit card payment. So I wanted to kind of tee this up for discussion tonight to see what the group's comfort level is.
I've noticed the passing on to the consumer in a lot of different ways. I've noticed, I know when we do fundraisers at New Trier, there's a surcharge when a credit card's being used. I've seen it in small fees when you go to the local restaurants, you're being charged. And I don't think this is anything additional that consumers are used to. And I think it puts the village in a difficult position to constantly being hit and losing money on this transaction. So I am all for putting it towards the consumer to pay that fee when there are some other options of payment available.
Anyone else?
I just think that there's, like everything else, the education piece is explaining to residents and making it clear that if you're doing a direct withdrawal from a checking account or whatever, that there is no fee associated with it. Whereas if you are going to be using a credit card, this is going to be passed along, which will probably entice a lot of people to do that direct connect right to the checking. So.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should look at the different categories and have potentially a different approach for the different categories. For the escrows, I'm all in favor of recouping the fees, especially since the money is paid back to the resident. So they're basically getting their money back and the village is covering the cost of the processing fee. That doesn't seem fair. So I'm okay with that. I have an issue with the utility aspect of it, especially with the water bills. We're encouraging people to do auto pay. It makes the village's life a lot easier to have that auto pay. It's a small amount, and I think that the village, I don't think the residents should incur that cost when we're encouraging them to do the auto pay. Not everybody likes to hook it up to their bank accounts. There's some security issues with that. Additionally, I don't know if it's listed up there, but there's a benefit for the village covering the cost of the processing fees on the utility, and if it were given to the residents, some of that benefit would go away, so it actually costs more in the aggregate to shift it to the residents. So that's kind of where I stand on that part of it. On the permit part, I don't know. I'm open to kind of hear what people have to think about that. Those are my thoughts.
I would agree with Matt that I think that, the small fee for, when you pay your water bill is one thing, but I also agree that, the big ticket items like a $10,000 or $5,000 bond or down payment or, when you have to, permit stuff out should be picked up by the person, but I agree with what Matt said about the smaller fees for just paying your water bill shouldn't be incurred. And, we're trying to be good and do different things and encourage people to pay with credit cards. And some people nowadays, it's really tight. And so I think that I agree with what Matt was saying, the way to divide it up, not one flat system for the entire project.
Have you talked with any other villages about how they're handling having these credit card transactions and things like that? I mean, do we have any sense of how many are charging, how many are passing this through versus others or anything like that?
I have not surveyed our neighbors yet. I know what we were doing in Kenilworth was passing on, but I haven't checked with the other communities.
And do we know the percentage of, I know the dollar amount is 60,000, but what percentage of overall billing is paid via credit card? I'd like to understand that as well. Because I think, Trustee Whitaker's right. There can be behavior modification if we advertise correctly, but if we have half the people paying already via, ACH, great, they're not going to be impacted. But I want to understand, I want the village to be in a good spot, but I also want to make the decision based upon the data before I go that route, because unlike my fellow trustee, these, I call them junk fees, really have gotten more prevalent and annoying, whereas before they used to build them into their overall system, so you weren't seeing the specific, charge. And so I just want to be, before we do something, I'd really like to understand what we're looking at here, Patrick, in terms of transaction as a percentage.
Yeah, the data we pulled out of the processing company spreadsheet, I don't have confidence in the numbers I saw, so let me do a little bit more digging and make sure I'm getting accurate data to you.
Does that make sense, guys? I'm just trying to.
I would agree with Trustee Fowler, exactly. I'd like to see more data on exactly. I mean, if 90% of this cost is based on people that are, big ticket items, the $5,000 or $10,000 versus a small percent is the people that pay the water bill, I think that, that we need to look at that and get the exact figures and where the breakdown is.
I'm all for recouping the cost. How we do it and based upon, and hitting those people appropriately. Look,
Does it change for you whether it's a utility bill payment or a $30,000 permit fee for a new house?
Yes.
Do you have a different feeling about those?
yeah,
Yeah.
for me too.
Me too.
Yeah.
Is there comfort with us starting on the building side of saying there's a pass-through for permit fees and/or for escrows, we don't take credit cards? You must give us a check or cashier's check or something to kind of stop that more quickly, or do you want the data before we make any changes?
No, I'm okay with the high ticket items. If they're going to do a renovation, they want to put it on their credit card, they're likely getting points, and that's why they're doing it. They can, because they do have the alternative, and you make it perfectly clear. You are going to be charged this amount, and it's amazing the number of times people pull the check out once they find out it's a high ticket item.
Especially on escrow, and Trustee Gallen was making that point too, like, why should we have to, as a village, pay to hold their funds, and then in reality, they should almost be charged that when they get the money back or something like that, right? And I think that's a situation where it's like, write a check, right? Or whatever you gotta do. I understand some people don't have their checking account, all the things that go into it, but at the end of the day, those larger ticket things, if you are using this system versus your checking account or direct pay, things like that, it makes sense. I would like on the breakdown side, and I think Trustee Orth was getting into this a bit too, of, you know, that percentage of how much is card versus not card, and then also what's utility, what's escrow, what's permit, like what are those breakdowns of that $60,000 a year? Because I'd be interested to see where utilities end up out of that total dollar amount. And follow-up question on that, if I understand correctly, you're using Visa, does that have for municipalities a utility, like if it's for utility bills, it's a discount setup or something along those lines?
The credit card processors offer a discount for utility payments for municipalities. So it's a lower fee. Like we just changed vendors, they're still in the approval process to make sure we're truly a utility. So we're waiting for that backup for the water and sewer fees, but we've been assured that that's the intent, is we'll see that lower amount.
Yeah, because that'll change some of that fee structure too.
So just a point of clarification, at least, so in the packet that you sent us, there is a charge for the ACHs.
The term used there is ACH, but in hindsight, it should have said debit card. The debit card is the chart you see. The bank charge to us for being linked to your checking account, we believe is zero. It just, we didn't get a call back from the bank in enough time to confirm it.
So you're not calling that ACH then? That's, you're making a distinction between those?
Yeah, that's an e-check is what we would call that.
So there's a couple things that need to be clarified, that being one of them. And I think whatever all the other trustees have said, but also maybe comparable to what the other towns are doing, so we can see that as well. Not that it'll make us do what we, but just for a point of reference.
I do want to ask Patrick, I think you asked for us to approve going ahead with the fees for escrow and large ticket items, and we're really asking for feedback on the utility portion. Is that correct? Like you want approval to move forward on the larger ticket items today and then come back to us on the utilities and the water and sewer bills?
Or at least clarity where the board's comfort level is, and I don't quite have that yet, is where,
Okay.
where do you want me doing things right now?
So we would pass the cost for the high-ticket items onto them as well. So if it's $3,000 for the extra charge to use your credit card, we would pass that on to them as well. Is that what you're also looking for?
So let me bracket it. If for escrows, and I can't remember what timing I put in here, within the next, next week, we'll put notice out that effective immediately, escrow deposits, if you use a credit card, there's a pass-through surcharge fee. However, you still may pay by check or debit card, and we'll eat the debit card fee for now, until we get more data. For permit payments, so basically, these are anytime something's coming through the community development department, same thing. Pass through the fee of the credit card usage, debit card will take, or please write us a check, cash is acceptable. And work on that, and I'll get more data for you on the utility billing, as well as the number of people that are signed up and who uses credit card through the automatic bill payment, the link to the e-check. I'll try to get that more refined data available to you and bring it back hopefully next month.
Two questions. On the permit part, is there a threshold amount we're talking about? Or I thought I heard some people sort of talking about the amount, or is it just any sort of permit?
My recommendation is
I wasn't
that-
sure, I don't know that I heard it.
Yeah, my recommendation is it's just flat, because the experience I've had is when you put a threshold in there, people decide that they want to charge it 3 times to make up and stay under the threshold, and it just becomes a pain for staff versus, look, you're using a credit card, we're passing the charge through. It's much simpler, and also on the vendor side, as they set up, whether or not the system will bring an alert saying, there's a surcharge of X dollars, because I think there's a way for us to be able to say, if you use your credit card, it's this many dollars additional at the point of sale. So people know right then, oh, wait, no, I don't want to use a credit card. And they'll come up with an alternate payment source.
And second question, where does the vehicle sticker fall into this?
That was my next question.
It depends how you pay for it.
Well, I mean, are you putting it as a utility? Is it a permit?
It would fall under the category you see on the screen of a tax payment, I believe.
Tax payment.
For now, this would fall into the, we're not going to deal with that. We're out of vehicle sticker season for the most part. If you haven't bought yours yet, there's a fine for not doing so. Please make sure you get that. But that'll be solid for now, unchanged. That's such a small amount of our business we do. I'll bring that back in a combined recommendation next month.
Okay, so are we in agreement on how we'd like Patrick to move forward? Are you in agreement that we're in agreement?
I'm seeing nodding heads. I feel I've got a consensus, so that helps. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Patrick, it's ironic because I was looking at my Discover card bill before this meeting, and it had on there for the June, July, August, or the 3-month period where you get the extra 5% cashback bonus, that utility billing was one of the items that they had listed on there. So I think that was quite ironic that that's also that they're actually keying in on some of that stuff now too. The credit card companies are.
Okay. All right, let's move along to item number 6, discussion concerning staffing of the building division.
And let me tee this up at a high level, and we'll let Steve jump in if he wants to add anything to us. But Steve and I talk on a regular basis how things are going, what our responsiveness to concerns are, and as you know, that we get the resident emails occasionally reporting problems about observations in the village of quality of what's happening around town. And I often, not often, it is not infrequent for me to be leaving long past our normal business hours and see the lights on in Steve's office and have to kick him out. He often doesn't listen to me and says he'll be leaving shortly, but a lot of what's taking Steve's time lately are things that don't require a department head level of service and support. So Steve and I have been talking about what those things are, what we could do to possibly mitigate that. And the areas where he needs help is really related to code enforcement, building code interpretations, and dealing with some resident issues as far as what's happening resident to resident, and helping have a higher level of expertise in talking through that for really a mediation, if you will, between residents. So in the past, the village had a full-time person as a code official or a building official helping with that system. We had a full-time person that retired. The village realized they couldn't backfill it well, and they asked him to come back on a part-time basis. And Ron Johnson's been helping out for a number of years out of retirement, if you will, part-time. This year seems to have been a super heavy year for code enforcement, and we've seen a lot of complaints, high grass, tree growth, other things that, no offense to Steve or his team, but I don't feel we're being as responsive as we should be, and it's harder for us to follow up and close the loop on things. Additionally, some things have had to go to our administrator for violations, and those are getting multiple rounds through code enforcement before anything happens, and all that does is eat time. So what I'd like to do is take the current part-time authority and get the village board's permission to bring that in as a full-time position, to be able to provide basically absent time off, full-time support for Steve in that area, which will allow him to shift his duties to more common community development director roles. The amount that I put in the packet was a salary about 110 to 120. I'm hoping we can find somebody with the level of expertise we need at that rate. I built in the fringe. But for the remainder of this fiscal year, counting fringe benefits, I'm asking for permission for about $12,000 to $14,000 of spend through April 30th, assuming we would bring something in October. Hopefully, some of that will be saved from the change in credit card processing fees, but we also have some projects coming forward with building permit revenue that was unanticipated when the budget was put together. And I think we'll be okay at the end of the year, assuming we can find somebody for this role. Steve, did I miss anything? Sorry, I went longer than I intended.
Just, Ron Johnson, does he work for the village of Northfield, or is he a contractor?
He's a part-timer working remotely.
Is he work for the village, or is he contracted through?
He's a part-time employee working
Okay.
directly.
Okay. So that's just the only question I had. And this would be full-time village employee?
If we can find it. If we can't find it, we would back off and go for a second part-timer. And we'll make a decision whether we actually want to advertise both at the same time and see what gives us a better fit. But the authority I would be asking for is full-time, which is a bigger spend, if you will, than the part-time position.
I think this is long overdue. I think this is a good move. We're constantly in a position where we don't have the staff, we don't have the time, we don't have the money, but we have the money, and, you know, we've had the staff position before. Ron Johnson for years did a great job, and I think Steve needs the help, and now that we're busier and the monies that are coming in for other permits and fees that we're getting will fill that position, and I think we need more staff up in the office. I think we're way short-staffed. You hear people complain about it all the time about it, and I think that we really need to be able to have somebody that goes around the village. Steve's too busy to do it now, I get it. They actually see all the things that are going on and work that's being done without permits, you know, property maintenance issues like crazy. I think it's long overdue, and I think we need to do this without a doubt, and I'm all for it.
I do want to just add that our staff is doing yeoman's work to get done what we're asking them to do. So I don't want there to be a suggestion that we as a board are unhappy with the activities of the staff currently. I think we all recognize that we do need additional help, and that's been one thing that we've asked Patrick to look at since he's been here, and this is a good opportunity for us to give you the chance to see if you can fill a position for us that that we could really use. So,
I agree with you so much.
yeah.
We've all talked about the work that our staff does with the least amount of people.
Right. Yep.
Understaffed, overworked.
Is great.
All right.
That's great.
Okay.
Thank you. Melissa, would you bring the PowerPoint back up, please?
Last item. Number 7, update concerning the Winnetka Road Bridge enhancements.
So you probably recall that we spent a few committee of the whole sessions talking about the Winnetka Road Bridge and bringing enhancements to that project. We've been working with IDOT and talking to them. We sent letters forward. We did some preliminary engineering and moved forward on this project. I recently heard from IDOT that they no longer anticipate the bridge being designed as it was initially. And you see at the bottom of the screen the blue arrow pointing toward the wall right in front of that Winnetka Avenue sign. The plan had been to take that, what I'll call as a wing wall, and continue it out of a concrete, they call it MSC, it's a mechanical joint, and put a Village of Northfield or a Northfield sign on that, and then do what they call the parapet wall up higher in a very nice decorative stone, at least the appearance of it through the form liner. Well, that wall that you see where the arrow is pointing toward, that is kind of at a 45-degree angle of the road, is not going to be in the new bridge design. So the reason is, as you see in the top left screen, if you can see the orange to yellow lines on either side paralleling the highway, at some point in the future, we don't know when, how long, but the IDOT has plans to potentially widen the Edens, add one additional lane in each direction. Again, they don't know when. However, this bridge is going to have a life that they believe will exceed the potential timing for widening the Edens. So because of that, they're going to design this bridge now to fit a potentially wider roadway, which means that those walls, right where the tip of the arrow is, that wall is going to be pushed in further east and west on both sides, eating up where the wall is now. And it's going to look a little bit like this. And I'm sorry, I don't have a laser pointer, but it's where you see the red triangles. That's the section of wall that essentially go away under this wider project. And there's a small purple vertical rectangle on either side. That's roughly where the new wall would be, according to Patrick, who does not have an engineering degree. That's my idea of what it's going to look like, just to give you a sense of all where you see Northfield on the right in that red, that's going away. There will be no wall to put Northfield on. So IDOT, when they were breaking this wonderful news to me, said, do you still want to move forward? I said, sure, with at least what they call the parapet wall, which is the horizontal section where you see the fencing. That stamped stone and the pillars, we would still like to move forward with, I believe, based on what I've heard from the board. But the fact that we knock out about $16,000 of the signage, I don't know, we have a lot of choice there. IDOT, in their kindness, said, would you like to put the signage on the inside? I said, no, I don't think there'll be too many people looking to their right as they drive underneath the bridge, even if we light it. So they were actually very kind, but they wanted to bring it to our attention. So two things for me tonight is, one is just a check of, was my initial read on the group correct, that you still want to move forward with this project even with these changes? If the answer is no, I can go back to IDOT, but I just wanted to keep the ball rolling. They're currently anticipating this project going out for bid in May or June of 2027. So there's some time, but they're starting the design work now. They're finishing phase 1, and they've got to figure out how to redesign this bridge based on this change.
So construction at the start till 2028 then?
If they use a term called letting, so if they let the bids loose in May or June, it could be as early as the end of 2027 or spring of 2028.
Will this get money back because we're doing less of a project? In terms of us having more money to use elsewhere to change signage or?
It looks like it'll save us about $16,000. It's not a huge savings. In my opinion, the engineers built in a little too much contingency at the bottom. I think that this project will probably be done for the ballpark of $200,000 or less by the time we're done. But we've also got construction cost escalation between 2025 pricing and 2027 or 8.
Would they consider putting Northfield across the middle or the top? I mean, isn't that, or just first?
We had inquired before, and they will not allow anything over the active lanes. IDOT has said that it's either a distraction and/or they're worried about a letter or something falling off and striking a vehicle. So you see, even the Winnetka Avenue sign is not over an active drive lane. So they won't let any signage go up above the drive lane. I did not bring the point up of that's where they put their signage,
Right.
but they will not allow us to do it, no.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, if the Winnetka Avenue, are they going to have to move that all the way over to the?
They will.
Yeah.
I would still like to see some opportunity to have Northfield on the face of that decking somewhere, even if it's up above the, the purple box there
Directly
on,
above where it is now.
yeah. I would love to see something like that. We just don't have to completely give up our name and just have the little N up there. I guess I would like to see that as an option.
Yeah, that might be something on, when we get new drawings in the future, because I would imagine the hill's going to move back on each side too. So hopefully there's an opportunity to have something over there in that space if everything's just
Yeah.
We'll get another set of preliminary drawings, I think they said in about 6 months, and we'll look for that opportunity under the next set of drawings.
Okay.
When the bridge project gets underway, were they going to completely close down the Winnetka Avenue Bridge, or was it going to be, so it's going to be completely shut down?
Yeah, probably 3 to 6 months. We won't know till the means and methods come out from the contractor, but there's a planned detour because that will be totally out. We asked them initially if they could do it in stages, even like westbound lanes first, then eastbound, and because they're raising the height of the bridge, they couldn't do it that way.
Patrick, when you talk to them next, can you inquire about Willow Road if they've got this plan going on for Winnetka? Where does Willow Road set up? I know it's separate from what we're talking about here.
I sent them a letter about a month and a half ago. Willow Road is part of their detour path when this happens, And knowing that sometimes move a little bit slowly with IDOT, I asked them to look at the condition of the roadway now, because we've got a lot of deterioration. And if this becomes a detour path, it's going to be worse. And while it's a detour path, they're not going to be able to fix it. So fix it now, at least a year ahead of time, so we're ready. No response yet, but I remain hopeful.
And this is me just being snarky, but they could use part of that landscape allowance to cut some of the grass over there at some point, too.
Not snarky at all.
Yeah, so.
Where are they going to come up with the money for widening the Edens? The state doesn't have any money now. I'm just kind of curious where they think they're coming up with the money.
They don't
to
even,
widen Edens.
they didn't even speculate as to what year they may even start talking about it. They just said it's been in the long-term plans for a long time, and that if they're going to build this bridge that's going to have, 50, 75-year lifespan, they want to make sure it's ready just in case. Which honestly, if they're truly thinking about the expansion, glad they're doing it now rather than putting it up and coming back 10 years from now and widening it.
So it could be 20, 30 years. No one knows. It could be a long time.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. We good on that?
Yes, that is it for me. Thank you.
Okay, anybody from the public like to make a comment?
I'm bad at this. Carol Ritchell, 811 Hap. What I would like to address is documenting in the minutes who said what. I totally disagree with you, Tom. I realize that now we have audio, we have video. So if you're just doing audio, most of the time when people are talking, you don't know who's talking, okay? The only way you would know is if you are watching the video, which is wonderful. And I guess I'm confused myself in that I certainly have appreciated the way things were, the way the minutes were, whatever, in the past, where we could actually, so-and-so said such and such. I valued being able to, even though many times I had been in meetings, there were times I weren't in meetings, and I would read the minutes, and to know who said what, to me, made a great big difference. And it's so much easier to read it rather than going through the, the video. You're sitting there and you're like, okay, wait a minute, well, let's see, when did so, and I don't know if I'm making any sense to anybody, but I just know that I really valued documentation in the minutes as far as who said what. I think other people have also. Holly's done a wonderful job as far as noting what comments from us, from the public. And that's really hard. I remember talking to her one time, she says, well, people get up there and sometimes it's hard to figure out, who they are. I'm trying to put their, anyway, she's done a great job. But I really would like more specific documentation in the minutes as far as what you guys are saying. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything they'd like to? Don, did you find something to grumble about?
Not yet.
Okay.
Actually, first of all, since we're off topic a little bit, Holly does a great job of taking my 1,000-word rants and turning them to 13 words, perfectly stating exactly what the hell I was talking about. Thank you, Holly. Back to the bridge. You probably can't tell me yet, but do you think this could affect the people that live east of the highway, just north of the bridge, just south, basically at Winnetka and frontage on the north side and the south side of Winnetka Avenue? I know they both those residences got something from the state saying we might have to take some property. You probably don't know the answer yet, right?
I don't know the answer for sure, but I can tell you, I honestly do have a degree in engineering. I can tell you based on the way I look at this, they're probably going to have a little bit more load bearing on the spans between lanes and the abutment walls. I think it may be okay, but we won't know till they get further, probably 6 months from now. But I believe there's a way to do it as is without extending further east and west into their taper of the roadway.
Okay, and on the lighter side, and it's still on topic, I thought when you're going to address a lot about the Northfield sign on the highway, which you've addressed a few times before. I spoke to Chief Lustig about this before. There's so many things that can be spoofed or satired in Northfield. I mean, there's good stuff. I mean, we got great restaurants, low taxes, schools, everything else. But I made them crack up when I said, you know, they're going to do the Northfield sign on the highway. And there's two words that we agreed on are hilarious, true, and we both kind of love. He said, well, you know what? Northfield, underneath it, put speed trap. I'm not kidding. Because that's two words that I've known, oh my God, since high school, way back when. We've been known as a speed trap, and as he and I both agree, we take that as a badge of honor. Kind of cool. You know, it keeps people in line a little bit. And finally, to amend something from before, I think we need to get Joe Mahoney involved in the Centennial. This guy knows everything about this village, basically, with his family, from about the 1920s to the 1980s. And he's a terrific writer, too. So that's all I got. No complaints. Thank you.
Thanks, Don. Anybody else? Okay. May I have a motion and a second to adjourn the committee of the whole meeting, please?
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
All those in favor?